All right. Well, we are back with another edition of Inside BBI with John and Eric. I'm John McDevitt. And with me, as always, senior editor of Big Blue Interactive, Mr. Eric Kennedy. And Eric, before we touch on anything with the game, any of that other stuff, to get through this, and we need it, what are you drinking, my friend?
I am drinking on the Oktoberfest still. Is my screen frozen? Because it's frozen on my end.
No, you're good. You're good
okay.
for me.
I'm frozen on my end. Okay.
I got another one of the tropical IPA, India Pale Ale one. Didn't even throw it in a glass. I feel like I corrupted you. I feel like I was being optimistic, and I was more like I just tell the way I thought it would go. And in the beginning of the game, it went exactly how I kind of had said it would. I thought they would use more of the tight ends, split some of them out, use them in the passing game, that the Giants would go more up tempo with those pieces. And it worked for 2 touchdowns. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, the wheels came off the wagon. Maybe we reverted to our old form. They remembered who they were. I have no idea, Eric. What the hell happened?
5 turnovers. You turn the ball over 5 times. You lose the turnover battle 5-0, and you're going to lose. So, I mean, it's more complicated than that, but you can't win a football game when you're – I hate to say like Brian Daboll after the game, but when you lose the turnover battle, that crazy. And I'm going to take a controversial, contrary opinion. First part of it is I think the defensive coaching staff stinks. I think Shane Bowen stinks. Yes. That's not the controversial part, and we can get into that. But I don't think the offensive coaches cost us this game at all. I think the players were put in position to win this football game, and the players failed. I think the first 2 drives were great. Dart looked sharp. He made some really nice NFL professional throws. It was like, I think it was 7 out of 8 or something like that. It was like, damn, he's even better than I expected him to be this early. I'm not going to lay it all on him. It was a bunch of whole other people that did this. And I don't think it's really too much the interceptions, but the missing, they set that flea flicker up beautifully. Yes. And I saw a wide field version of that, and Slayton was wide open. I mean, he was crazy wide open, and that ball got underthrown.
Sure.
Jaxson, and who I like, again, I remember I came into this warning everyone, we were going to have ups and downs. We had ups and downs in the same games. He was up at the start of the game and the downs, but he let that ball slide right out of his hands. That was a biggie. But to me, the killer turnover in this game was the Giants were driving. They were just down 2. They were inside the red zone. They already had a field goal, and Skattebo's fumble was just that was the game to me right there. So even despite all the crap that they had done and they had self-inflicted on themselves up until that point, they could have won that game very, very easily. And that turnover to me, and it's not just on Skattebo. I'm a huge Skattebo fan, but that turnover changed the entire complexion of the game. And you just can't win football games like this. To me, last thing I'll say before I shut up is this was a gigantic blown opportunity for this team. And it'll probably end up costing Daboll his job. I talked about it in my game preview before this game that if my gut told me if they lost this game, it wasn't going to be good for him. And this was a game they had to win, given the schedule, given the fragile state of mind of this team, given the opponent, all those things. And to lose this game to me is just devastating. Could they make it up theoretically? Sure. But I don't think they have it in them. We'll see.
I'm going to work backwards with what you said. So I'm going to start with the fumble. I'm going to go back to just after the draft. So I'm going to give you some kudos because I said something and you corrected me on it and you became prophetic. I said that one of the things about Skattebo is he brings a very physical style, and he's a guy that you're going to want to maybe use in a goal line because Tracy fumbles. You said, be careful, Skattebo has fumbled the ball some. That came back to haunt us in this game. Now, part of it is Jermaine Illuminor had a bad game. Yes. Now, is his back injury worse than we're hearing? Maybe it is, because he's had 2 games in a row that haven't been great. He missed that block horribly bad. He just let the guy come straight down. Now, again, you can't fumble. You just can't fumble. And it happens. It kills you. The deep pass on a flea flicker, there is something about that I think somebody needs to work with Dart a little bit on, is this is not just flick it time. There's sometimes you got to gun it. You just got to let it go. However, that being said, loser players make loser plays. And Darius Slayton still had a chance to catch that ball.
Right.
Last night, Tyquan Thornton is on his second team. He was a high draft pick. They let him go because he wasn't doing anything. He's with the Chiefs. He comes back and makes a catch on an underthrown Patrick Mahomes pass that sets them up deep in Jaguars territory. Slayton still could have made that catch. That's not the one that bothered me the most, though. If you go back and look at the pass that Slayton dropped earlier, that is a great pass by Dart. He drops it in. There's 3 defenders. It's coming in on an angle that when Slayton gets 2 hands on the ball, there's nothing else you can tell me that says, oh, that's a difficult catch. That's what you get paid for.
Right.
Difficult is, let's start with difficult. That's Odell Beckham reaching over his head, one-handed, pulling crazy, miraculous catch. Difficult is Amani Toomer against the Green Bay Packers in sub-zero weather, diving, holding his feet on the edge of the sidelines, making a catch, dropping to a ground that's got to be like cement at that point, and holds the ball. Darius Slayton had it. He was pulling it into his stomach when he drops it. Unfortunately, he has so many of those almost plays. That could have changed the outlook, because that easily could have put us up 21-3 at that point. You know, we could have moved further and scored right then, would have put 21-3. That changes the complexity of the game. No excuses. You cannot turn the ball over 5 times. But there's something about the way the Giants start doing things that really, it bothers me. It bothers me in this. We are very schizophrenic in how we do things. We're inconsistent in logic. And I mean that by, we went into that game, we talked about, will they bring up a receiver? I said, this is a game they might not do that, and this is why. Great. That made perfect sense if that's what you're going to do. But then they also activated Fedoni. So I'm like, okay, so not only did you not bring somebody up, you went 4 tight ends, but then he doesn't play it down. Why did you bother activating a guy if you have no intention of actually using him in any of the game? It's a waste of a spot. He barely plays any special teams, and he didn't play offense. So that makes no sense on why you did that.
When they had 2 roster spots, they went into the game with 51 players too. So
yeah, you could have done whatever you wanted, but you activate the guy to not even use him. It would almost make more sense to activate Evan Neal, who you could just put in as a blocker on special teams, so you can not have one of your starting offensive linemen have to play those extra downs on field goals and stuff. Nope. We put Fedoni, who we don't use. I watched the Chiefs last night play the Jaguars. I don't know if anybody else watched the game last night, but you go back late in the game, they're driving down. The Chiefs go 4 wide. 3 players on the right were 3 tight ends. 3 tight ends split out with 1 wide receiver. The Giants, you didn't have receivers towards the end of the game. You still got to use those tight ends. Your whole offense was based upon that. The second that you stop doing it, and then Slayton pulls a hammy, now you've got nothing. You've got Bo Collins, and Jalen Hyatt has proven he does not belong in the NFL. He certainly does not belong with the New York Giants. He brings you absolutely
nothing.
So the thought process behind the way they use their players, the guys that they activate for whatever reason, and then the game plans, they don't seem to have a coherent or consistent feel to them, and it's very frustrating.
Am I being good? I've been told that I keep talking.
You were awesome. No, you were awesome.
I'm being told that I keep talking over you and interrupting. So I'm trying to be
you're good. You're good.
To be good. Try living with me. You're spot on. And look, one of the other things I said before this game was not having Malik Nabers was going to cost us games. It cost us this game. If Malik Nabers plays this game, we win easy. Because those passes that went to Slayton are going to Malik Nabers. And you make a good point. Look, Jaxson Dart needed to get that ball on the flea flicker, but Slayton's got to come back better for that. And a lot of those underthrown balls like that often end up in pass interference.
Yeah, right.
The player comes back. the defensive back will run into the player, and it's kind of unfair to the defensive back. It draws it, but he didn't put his body in position to even draw the call in that position. So it was a waste of look. I'm not trying to defend Daboll and Kafka. I'm just saying the plays were there to be made, and they didn't execute those plays. And part of the problem here is what you just said. We've talked for years up until this season how Joe Schoen has mismanaged the offensive line because they didn't have quality depth. They didn't have quality backups, especially at tackle. And that hurt 2 seasons in a row. It devastated 2 seasons. We've talked about how he has not gotten quality players on the defensive line next to Dexter Lawrence. Now, finally, Darius Alexander, who Shane said they didn't really need the draft, but thank God that they did. They drafted him.
Right.
But what's really sticking out right now is the wide receiver room is awful, and that's on Joe Schoen. The wide receiver room looks terrible. Even if Slayton was healthy right now, it still looks terrible. So they brought Slayton back. That's not working out. Wan'Dale had a great game against Dallas, but that was Dallas.
Right.
And he hasn't done anything else in the other games, really. I mean, again, he's a nice player. Like Cy was talking about a 3rd or 4th receiver, but he's certainly not the guy that's going to scare you because he's got his limitations. Bo Collins just quit on that one interception. I don't know what the hell that was.
That was bad.
And Jalen Hyatt is not an NFL football player. And so the wide receiver room. Now Slayton doesn't look like he's going to play against Philadelphia. And God help us at this point. And it's because the Giants don't have any. Their wide receiver room may be the worst in the NFL right now. I challenge anyone to find a worse team. I mean, I'd have to go team by team, but it'd be pretty hard to find a team with worse wide receivers right now, given the fact that Nabers is out. So it's bad.
I was thinking about it last night. Again, the Chiefs had a lot of injuries early on. Worthy was injured. Rashee Rice is suspended.
Right.
But I was looking at their team last night, right? So Tyquan Thornton, who's bounced around. Tyquan Thornton would be a starter on our team right now. He would be one of those starting wide receivers right now.
Yeah.
You look at Juju Smith-Schuster. He would start for us. He's a guy you could count on that could run his right. He's certainly going to play over Bo Collins. Is it Worthy? Sure, absolutely. I started looking and go, the only guy on our team that would actually probably even be on their roster is Nabers. The rest of our receivers would not make the team, not even as the 5th or 6th receiver on their team.
Right.
That's not good. The thing about Wan'Dale, and I liked him. He can be a gadget guy. The problem is the Giants aren't using him as a gadget guy. He's now becoming a guy they're trying to be a focal point. What I don't like is it's become I thought it was a one-time thing or maybe once or twice. It's now becoming an alarming trend. When they do the bubble screens to him, if you just put your hand up on his shoulder pad as he's trying to get through, he goes down. They can just pull him right down. He can't. He did a really strong run on the reverse, but he didn't have to go far. By the way, go back and look at that play when they did the 4th down reverse to him. Andrew Thomas absolutely blew his man right off the line of scrimmage. If that doesn't happen, there's no way that Wan'Dale even gets the little bit of yardage that he did. That was a great play by Andrew Thomas. The tight end did not do a great job.
Was that the play that Skattebo just mauled his guy too, or was that another play?
It could be. I was so focused on Andrew Thomas, but it's so sad to see what it is because you would think after the last few years where we've had these problems that one injury, no matter how good the player is, shouldn't shut down. And I thought, and
that's
you
the
and
point. Yes. Sorry to interrupt.
No. You and I talked about this. I thought they would scheme like 22. And for the first 2 drives, they did. But then when things go against them, if they don't get So if Skattebo doesn't get 4 or 5 yards on first down and it's like 2nd and 9, now all that kind of stuff, because the delay handoffs or fake handoffs or pretend and drop, that does nothing to a defense that knows you're not running. They don't care. I saw the Giants doing that later in the game where they did that sort of fake. I'm like, who the hell do you thinks they're running? You're down 2 scores with less than 5 minutes. You're not running.
Right.
So don't even bother running that play. That is designed to hold the linebackers, to hold the safeties before you move on. Nobody is falling for it. And it's just so frustrating. So I want to move past the game portion for just a second.
Yeah, but one second. I do want to emphasize this again. one area I slightly disagree is, again, the plays were there to be made.
I understand.
Somebody said in the website, in the forum earlier, they said, why did the Giants get away from their game plan and then take some shots down the field? Well, those shots were there. They were wide open.
They have to be in the game plan.
If you can't do that, you're not going to win in the NFL. So they set that up. They had 2 deep balls to Slayton that should have been touchdowns or close. One should have been a touchdown. The other one, it should have been a big play. So you can't say don't throw deep because your wide receivers can't do it. I mean, that's unchained. So I have problems with the coaching staff. I did not have problems with the offensive coaching staff in this one. With a few exceptions here and there. I don't like running tight end screens at Theo Johnson. I think that's dumb. But I
agreed.
But agreed. I think the plays were there to be made. And then on the defensive side, before we move on, because I think you said you wanted to move past the
No, you're fine. No, go ahead.
On the defensive side, you can't let Spencer Rattler beat you. And Spencer Rattler was comfortable and completing passes, and the coverage was so soft. And it wasn't that the pass rush was weak. It was like he was getting the ball out quickly because his receivers were wide open immediately. I don't know why they didn't press more. And there was a comment up here, I missed it, by somebody, Danny Duds, this. And look, we could see the reasons why these players were let go at the time. Some of it was financial. Some of it was where the Giants were in terms of win-loss record. Like Leo, at the time when they traded him away, it looked like a good deal for the Giants.
That was the right move, though, for that.
Julian Love, people may not remember, but Julian Love only had 1 interception and had just gotten really badly abused by the Eagles in his last game with the Giants. McKinney is a tougher one to justify, but I think that goes back to the ATV accident.
I totally agree.
But these moves don't look so good right now, combined with the amount of resources they have spent to try to replace these people. So in other words, they draft Tyler Nubin, who's not working out. And again, I liked him as draft pick, but he's not working out.
No, he's not working out.
Javon Holland is not bad, but he's not been worth the money they've given him. And
this would have been
not playing up to his contract right now. So when you combine the Daniel Joneses of the world, the Saquon Barkleys, the Julian Loves, the McKinneys, the Leonard Williams, and then the people that are coming in, it doesn't look good for the Giants.
But the Javon Holland one, I'll disagree with slightly, because this actually probably could have been his best game.
Right. No,
he has a great pass defense. He has an interception. And now we're going to turn just for 1 second for the one guy that burns my.
I knew you were going to bring this up.
Oh, my God. I was trying not to. There's a reason why I don't like this guy, and I haven't liked him since the day the Giants brought him on board. And this is why. There was no reason, even falling down, there was no reason for you to grab the receiver. Know where you are. Somebody mentioned, and maybe it was Cy, the word panic. They got it, and then they panicked. Oh, they got it, and then they panicked. You know what I call that? That's undisciplined. That means you don't know what you're doing. You didn't panic. You just go to instinct, and your instinct is to always grab the guy. I don't know where I am. Grab the guy. You get a freaking penalty every time. You don't cover worth shit. The only thing you've been doing is returning kicks, and thank God, I would just put him back there all the time. Let him return kicks. Just let him return kicks. He avoids contact anyway. Let him return kicks. When he got that penalty,
except when he's blocking for the kick.
Oh my God! Again,
yeah.
There are 2 things you cannot teach. One, you cannot teach instincts. You can't teach it. It's instinctual. It's built in. It's who you are. It's just a feel for whatever. You can't teach that. 2, you can't teach someone to be smart. They're either smart or they're not smart. You can teach them what they need to do, but a smart person takes what you showed them and then applies it. A dumb person goes, oh, okay, and then goes right back to whatever they would do, and that's what he does every time. Tell me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go, please. Tell me why he's on the field.
I'd add a third thing to that, physicality. You can't teach physicality.
Heart. Heart.
Well, I'm not saying heart in this case. I'm saying physicality. So
yeah,
if you want to see the definition of physicality, look at Skattebo.
But I would say that heart plays a role in that.
He looks like he avoids contact.
Yes, but heart plays a role in that, right? Because you can have a little dude who can try to be physical, and they do everything possible to, like Wan'Dale Robinson, I think, tries to be as physical as he can. He just doesn't have, he doesn't have the lead in the pants to get it done, but he tries. He takes some big hits.
Right.
Deonte Banks is not a small cornerback. He's not small at all for a corner. He is weak, and he's weak in the heart. He does not try. He gives up on stuff all the time. He backs off. He lets things happen. He grabs guys. He's mentally not, he's not the, if you know you need a play, you're deep down going, dear God, let it go to anybody but near Banks. Because I know the flag is coming out. And once you get a reputation, the refs are always looking for it. They're going, that guy, he's always grabbing. Boom, flag comes out. Now, you mentioned the other guy on the other side, and that's what really bothers me is Paulson Adebo has not played up to the level we thought he was going to be.
No, he has not. And Andrew Phillips, who I really like still, has been way too up and down, and he's also been a flag guy. So he'll look great. It's feast or famine with him. So overall, my problem with the defense, people will say, oh, Eric, they only gave up 19 points if you don't count the defensive score. I get that. But remember, they missed 2 field goals, and they went up and down the field, and it was still Spencer. It's Spencer Rattler.
He was 0-10, by the way. He was 0-10 at the time.
And he said, coming into the game, Giants don't do a lot of things to confuse you. And it turned out to be correct. He was not confused at all. He didn't have to hold on to the ball. He wasn't confused. By the way, Andrew, correct on this. The one thing, again, the Giants they're a losing organization right now. Everything they do is just reeks of losing football. And one of the reasons they ended up with Ty Banks was Wink Martindale lobbied for the guy. And regardless of how you feel about Wink Martindale, but Wink wanted Tay Banks, and he got him. And then they get rid of Wink Martindale, and they bring in Shane, and now we're stuck with Tay Banks. It's just this losing culture this freaking team has right now. It just permeates everything, and I hate it. Look, I'm not like a non-Giants fan going, losers, Giants are losers. I'm a Giants fan going, this is a losing organization. It's just horrible. And I keep saying the same thing over and over again, because I think about things like this and it bugs me. I think that the amount of damage this franchise is doing to the fan base right now won't be fixed for generations. I think you've got generation of potential Giants fans who just left the reservation and have just given up on this team. The old guys like us are still hanging around because we're sadomasochists and we'll put up with this shit. But the young people are not, and that's why you see when you walk around New York and New Jersey, you see people in other jerseys. Somebody made a great post on the site the other day and said when they go and pick up their kid at school, the kids coming out of school have every team but the Giants they're wearing, and this is in New Jersey, and it's Northern Jersey, and this is sad, but this is where we're at right now because they can't get out of their way. I mean, think about the momentum they would have had if they beat the Chargers, beat the Saints, going into Thursday night's game against the Eagles, where they could have gotten to 3-3. And now instead they're 1-4, and the fans that are still somewhat excited about Jaxson Dart, and they should be, are all already kind of like, oh, I don't want to. This team sucks, and so they're already selling their tickets. Eagle fans are going to come up. It's going to be packed. Jaxson Dart today was saying, "Oh, how excited he is to have a home game again." And it's like, Jaxson, it's not going to be a home game for you.
It might be home because you're wearing blue.
It just sucks, and I don't know how they're going to get out of this because everything they do seems to be the wrong thing, and I don't know how they're going to get out of this.
Well, starting with the Eagle thing, and I'm going to go back to where you were a minute ago on just the Giants themselves, but on the Eagle part of it, right? They're actually struggling. Don't look at their record. They're actually struggling right now. They should have lost to the Rams. The Rams, without that block, if that field goal's not blocked and he goes through, the Rams win that game. There was no time left. It was kick go through or block. They happened to block it. Don't look at the final score because they returned it for a touchdown. It was literally that field goal goes through, game's over, Rams win. They barely beat the Bucks, and afterwards, AJ Brown is basically calling out, the team, passively calling out the team how he's kind of pissed off, and he's just like, whatever, you just shrug your shoulders and walk away because he was mad he's not getting the ball. They blow a double-digit lead against the Broncos. That team is not the team they were last year. The Giants could have been riding momentum. I'm not saying they would have won the game, by the way, not even close. I'm saying they could have been riding momentum. The whole concept, the whole perception around the Giants would have been different with a team with 2 wins in a row coming in with their rookie quarterback. And forget the injuries or anything else, because you don't know that at the time before they play the game. If they won that game, the whole mentality is different.
Yes, and people would have been coming to the stadium because they want to see Jaxson Dart go 3-0.
Right.
And they're playing the hated Eagles, but now we're back to this shit again. That's why this New Orleans game was devastating. This was a devastating loss for the Giants.
I think with this, I want to ask you this question because then I have my own opinion.
This is profound.
That's also very true, right? Like, okay, so real quick, because I said I was going to work my way backwards about the Eagles game and whatever. The Giants themselves, again, you go and then not only do you lose the positivity, right? The positivity coming off the Charger game, which, by the way, we held the lead all the way through. It was another game where we shot ourselves in the foot a number of times, where that game could have been much further out ahead. Right. It also now doesn't look as great a week later when we lose to the Saints and Washington goes and beats up on the Chargers in their own stadium. Yep. Now it's kind of like, maybe that wasn't so great. So, but either way, when you come off that and then you look like you did, you come out and you started so well. When's the last time we saw 2 consecutive touchdown drives, first 2 drives of the game? That almost never. I mean, 1 is amazing. 2, I was like, yes, we got this. And then adversity hit the team, and all of a sudden we changed. I know what you said, and you're right. There were plays that were worked, but when those didn't work, then the down stuff, we started to lose what we were doing. We became very predictable. And I think Jaxson Dart gets in a little bit of a shell. He zeroes in on, I got to do, and he's scrambling around too much. It worked one time where he was able to run around and then get away, but he also kind of takes himself out. There are short passes. Sai is right. Yeah. If you didn't see it, it's on bigblueinteractive.com. There were some crossing patterns. He could have just dumped the ball off, and he didn't do it. He's a rookie. You said that. You said it before. Yeah. Do not think that this is just going to be, even if he plays well, up, down, up, down. That being said, all this stuff, we just said this. We now go play Philadelphia. We're going to preview that later this week. But you saw all the posts that said Daboll should be fired. Your thoughts first on whether or not, let's say the Giants lose to the Eagles. Would you fire Brian Daboll in season?
Yeah, first, real quick. People don't take this as criticism of Dart, like we don't like the Dart pick. He's a rookie. Rookies make mistakes. And again, I warn people about this. This is the kind of shit that I was talking about. Combine that with missing Nabers and the defense not doing what it was and the 5 turnovers, then you're going to lose. So this is the rest of the year with Dart is going to be like, wow, great play. Whoops, missed the read. She held on the ball too long. Shouldn't have run there. That's the learning curve. So if this was a coaching staff that we were sure that was going to return and be here, this up and down would be a little bit more tolerable to take, I think, too, because we would say, Brian Daboll and his offensive coordinator and everyone's coming back, and this is just part of this comes with the territory.
Right.
Look, I don't know what I'm old school. Once you've made your bed, you've got to sleep in it. And firing the head coach or anybody else at this point, I don't know what. Again, I said it before. It's nothing novel. People have said it themselves. It's rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic at this point. So I don't know what that really does. I know people will look back to that when Saturday took over the Colts and they won a game or 2 or something like that. But again, that's not what I mean. That just to me feels like immediate gratification to Giants fans who want some sort of retribution or vengeance on the coaching staff. I don't know what that does for the Giants at this point. They're stuck with what they brought, who brought them there. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. People say, well, get rid of Shane and make Brandon Brown the GM. Well, if you believe some people, and I don't know if this is true, so we don't know if this is true, but some people have said Brandon Brown was the guy that didn't want Dart and he wanted Shedeur Sanders.
He wanted Shedeur, yeah.
I don't know if that's true, but if that is true, is that the guy you want running the franchise right now? Because that doesn't look like the right thing to do.
No.
And we're talking about the biggest of calls that there can possibly be, picking the right quarterback. So I'm not defending Shane. I'm saying, and you and I talked about this all in the offseason, that they took a big risk here, bringing everybody back, because if this didn't work out and they drafted a quarterback, which they did, they're in a really uncomfortable situation that the new people that would come into this team may or may not like Dart. Now, other people on the website have correctly said that doesn't necessarily mean they would get rid of Dart, and it doesn't. They might say, hey, it's a good situation. I got Abdul Carter. I got Dexter Lawrence. I've got Kayvon Thibodeau. I've got Brian Burns. I've got Andrew Thomas. There's a lot here. I may want to come into this situation. But on the flip side is, as we learned this week, or learned today, John Mara is interfering in stuff. He is vetoing trades and stuff like that. And as Cy pointed out, are they hiring yes men at this point with some of this shit? And does that scare away from? So answer your question. I would not fire him because I don't see what that does at this point. You've got to sync with this coaching staff at this point. If you want to feel good and fire him, that's all right. So, then Mike Kafka's the new head coach. Yay. I mean,
so here's
what does that do for you?
So here's where I'm going to take the other side of the coin.
Okay.
I absolutely fire him. And the reason I fire him is this. If as an organization, if I think Dart is my future,
right?
If I think he's the future quarterback for this team, I have a real problem with the direct relationship that he and Daboll seem to have. Daboll, Dart's my guy. I love him. I love you, coach, blah, 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 blah. How are you going to let him play out the entire season, then fire him, then find a coach who's going to want to come in knowing that Dart and him were tied at the hip? If you think Dart's your guy, but you don't think Daboll, in fact, you have to be committed. If you know Daboll's not going to be there next year, then you got to get rid of him now. Let Kafka coach the rest of the year. It's not about wins. I don't even care about that. It's about separating that relationship now to say, Dart, listen, we know you're going to be our guy, but we're going to be going in a different direction coaching wise. And I need you to develop the rest of this year. We're going to bring somebody in. They're going to know that we want you to be the quarterback. So that's it. But if you let it go all year, then all of a sudden these two, which have been really tight together, remember Daboll pounded the table for him.
Right.
Daboll's on the phone. He's like, I love you, man. I love you, coach. All this stuff. I don't want to work with anybody other than the Jaxson Dart. At the end of the year, that is going to be unbelievably difficult to get rid of Daboll and keep Dart on the up and up during that stuff. You've allowed that relationship to go. So if you know Daboll's going, there's no reason not to get rid of it now. Let Kafka coach the rest of the year. It's not about wins. It's not about feel good. It's not even about a pound of flesh. It's about, if I'm truly going to build for next year, this would be the equivalent of, they should have traded Saquon Barkley in the 23 season at the trading deadline, but they didn't. This is the same thing. If you know Daboll's going to go, I can't have him effing up the relationship with Dart with the Giants just because their relationship is so tight and I kept him all year. That's the reason why I would do it.
That's an interesting thought. I haven't thought of that. I'm not dismissing it. I'd have to think about that. I'd have to reflect on that, John. It's something to think about that I didn't think about. It begs the question, what is better for Dart's development? Is it for Brian Daboll to still have his hands on him for the last 12 games, or is it best for him not to have his hands on him for the last 12 games? To support what you said, Daboll said this week, I think it was yesterday. He said, it was yesterday. He said, there's no young quarterback I would rather be coaching right now than Jaxson Dart. Now, People say the coach speak. He seemed to believe it. He seemed to, and it fits with what I think he's got, what is that Seinfeld? He's got a man crush on.
He's got a man crush on Dart.
Yeah, he's got a man crush on Dart. When Costanza had the man crush on the Mimbo or whatever it was. I think he's got a man crush on Dart. So it's interesting. So we won't spend too much time on this. Are you saying you would do this too to give Kafka an audition for the head coaching job, or you're just saying you just want to separate it because you just want to get
I think
away from him?
If you're an honest, smart, and I know where you're going to go with the second I say this, business, you obviously give Kafka the benefit of an opportunity. Like whoever the temporary coach is, if he finds a way to win 6 games down the stretch and Dart is really developing, the cohesion that you could keep, I still get rid of my defensive staff at the end of the year for sure. I let Kafka go get his own guys. I give him an opportunity, but it's no guarantee by any stretch of the imagination. But what you do though is, I mean, how much is Daboll the true development of Dart when he's coaching the entire team, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
And how much is Kafka playing in this role? I think again, my biggest concern is that if you leave a guy in there that you know you're getting rid of,
mm-hmm.
you've created an unbelievably negative situation at the end. You've already done it. You already did it coming into this year when you decided to bring them back. When you decided to bring them back, you signed 2 veterans. Then you're like, okay, they're going to ride with the 2 veterans, and whatever happens, boom, out he's going to go. But then you go and get the guy that he wants as your rookie quarterback. You've created a scenario. So here's the other flip side to that coin. I almost feel like if you let Daboll coach the entire year, no matter what the record is, you might almost have to bring him back if you really want to build with Dart. That's why I get rid of it. If they lose to the Eagles and they're embarrassed at home, go. You got 10 days to build before the next game. Let Kafka take over. Who cares? Bowen sucks. We're getting rid of him anyway. He's a horrible defensive coordinator. So you know you're making changes anyway. You have to. If you don't know that, then quite frankly, this franchise is completely lost. But if you get embarrassed, I think you got to make that change, partly because let's get out in front of what we're going to become. The other part to this that a lot of people are not going to like when I say this, I am open ears if somebody wants Dexter Lawrence off the team.
Right. I keep saying the same thing over and over again, and I'll go to my grave on it. Brian Daboll's inability to pick defensive coordinators is going to sink him. He picked the wrong guy in Wink, and he picked the wrong guy in Shane. And look, the defense could have helped win that game, a couple of games this year. They got the Cowboy game, obviously, and yesterday. And Shane is over his head. He's not a good defensive coordinator. I have no confidence in him. I suspect the players don't have a lot of confidence in him. How do you bring back Brian Daboll if he has to go into his, what would it be, his 5th season with a 3rd new defensive coordinator? And I mean, that's another reason why I think he's sunk is that the irony in all this is what I said a month or 2 months or 3 months ago, whenever I said it. Brian Daboll's greatest legacy with the Giants might be that he's the one who brought Jaxson Dart in here. I think he's the one who, I think Jaxson Dart's here because of Brian Daboll.
I agree. That seemed obvious. Yes.
So if you want to if you love Jaxson Dart and you hate Daboll, at least thank Daboll for bringing in Jaxson Dart. What John is saying, and there may be something to it, is the longer that this relationship blooms, the harder it is, the divorce is going to be. So that it's actually an interesting thought. It may be something worth. It just doesn't seem very Giant-like to me to fire somebody in October.
Which is why you should do it.
Yeah.
Everything else you've done, stop doing the Giant way because it has not worked. It has not worked at all. Look,
I'm unemployed and I live at home with my.
If they surprise and they somehow beat Philadelphia, am I going to change my thoughts on Brian Daboll? No, I think Brian Daboll has proven enough to me right now to know that what you get from him is the occasional surprise. Mm-hmm. It worked out in 22. And I know I sound like I'm anti-22. I'm not anti-22. I loved that season.
Right.
But if I'm going to look at it objectively, which I try to do with a lot of games, which is why I get called an optimist, because I'm trying to be objective about just the game itself. Forget the history. What about this particular game? But if you go back to 22, there were a lot of things that really worked out in our favor. Tennessee misses a field goal at the end of the game. Carolina turns the ball over the first 2 times that they got the ball. They turned it over. That the Giants won by 3. So it wasn't like we dominated that game. I don't want to say we got lucky, but Baltimore should have beaten us. Baltimore made a couple of mistakes and allowed us to stay in it. We get the interception. Kayvon creates the fumble. We win that game. But Baltimore was winning that game. The other thing about Daboll's record, by the way, if you look at it, and it could be even better in this particular category, he's done extremely well against the AFC.
Right.
He has done horrible against the NFC. We barely lost to the Jets. We barely lost to Buffalo in, 23? Right. He could have 2 more wins on his record. They would all be AFC teams. But you take the AFC wins out of it, we are barely beating it. We had Washington that we beat a couple of times. Other than that, it's very sporadic. This team is just not good. It's not coached well by this organization.
He's living off his reputation in Buffalo at this point. It's too far removed from that. And like I said, he can't pick defensive coordinators and he can't win in the NFC East. And lo and behold, here comes another NFC East game. So if he follows if he follows, this is going to be, if he loses Thursday, he's 0-3 in the division
already.
And then we got to play the Eagles in 2 games after this, and it'll be 0-4 in the division. And that's if he gets fired, which I suspect he will get fired now, but in January probably. It'll be because he just can't win division games, and he can't pick defensive coordinators more than anything else. And his offense has been bottom tier in scoring since he's been here. So 2022 was a disaster for the Giants. It was fool's gold. It backfired on them in a number of different ways. We've talked about it over and over again. We don't need to rehash any of this. It just. Do
you think it's he can't pick defensive coordinators, or is it that these are the only guys that were willing to work with him?
Well, in the Shane Bowen case, it was the latter because 2 said no, and that's the problem if you keep him, because again, he's going to be his hot seat's going to be red hot, and if you're a hot defensive coordinator, why the hell would you come and join the New York Giants as their defensive coordinator if Brian Daboll has literally got 1 foot out the door now? If he survives this year, talk about, can you imagine if he comes back? That's the other thing, John. Can you imagine if, say, the Giants win 1 more or 2 more games this year and the Giants bring back Brian Daboll? Can you imagine the fan base? Can you imagine what the fan base will be like going in next year? It'll be, and they, and their defensive coordinator is they hire some schlub no one's ever heard of who's got I don't know, who knows? It's just not very good record.
The scary part of what you just said is what I said when I broke out the schedule. The back half of the schedule opens the door for the Giants in a couple of areas. Some of these teams are struggling. Minnesota, with their injuries at quarterback, they struggle. But even with McCarthy playing, so they're not so hot. The Patriots, you don't know what you'll get from time to time, although they look vastly
really good.
They look vastly improved.
Yeah.
But Dallas late in the year, if Dallas is out of it later on, and don't be misled by them beating the Jets. Most other offensive have moved up and down the field on the Cowboys. So late in the year, they're playing in Giant Stadium, or MetLife, whatever that tin can piece of shit. Late in the season, it's going to be cold. There's a lot of games later on that the Giants could win those games, especially with Dart kind of developing a little bit more. That is where I would be really disappointed.
John, if I'm in a war, I want you in my foxhole. You could be with me with Custer, and there would be 5,000 Indians coming over, and you'll say, "We've got a chance."
I'm not saying there's a chance, but that's my point.
The Giants just lost to Spencer Rattler.
I understand that, but what my point is,
Saints win. Do you know who the Saints' last 2 wins are against? The New York
Giants. Yes, I am well aware. But my point is more negative. My point is more negative. If they steal those wins, you and I both know.
Yes,
that might weigh. Yeah, exactly. That's the part with the Dart Daboll thing that scares the shit out of me. I don't want them going, well, he's his guy, and bullshit. If you lose to the Eagles, he should be fired. I would fire him. By the time he made it to the locker room, let him know, just go ahead and take all your shit home. You're not coming back on Friday.
I guess I triggered somebody. people with my analogy there. Look,
Foxhole with custard.
I don't know. I run a Giants website. You and I have a Giants podcast. I don't know where we're going to go from here. I don't know what. I don't know what. I mean, this team is not. The thing is there's talent on this team, and my biggest fear is they're going to wreck even the new guys that they've got, the Abdul Carters and the Jaxson Darts and the Skattebos and Darius Alexanders and the Thomas Fidonis. And Dexter Lawrence is tired of this shit. Andrew Thomas is tired of this shit. And Brian Burns, and they're losing has a stench, and it's attached themselves to this team, and I don't know how they get out of it. What I do know is this isn't working. This isn't working. John Mara, I know you hate making change because you're starting all over again, but this isn't working. Joe Shane isn't giving the coach the right groceries, and the coaching staff isn't taking the groceries that they have and they're not using them properly. And get your goddamn nose out of running the team's business, and get your goddamn relatives out of the running the team's business, and let some professionals run here. I think right now they're locked in. I think they're going to be locked into getting a retread head coach who has some track record, because he can't risk getting another first-time head coach and have it implode like this. The big question is, do they get rid of Shane? I know Mara doesn't want to get rid of Shane. I can feel it in my bones. He didn't want to get rid of he wanted to keep Kevin Abrams. Remember when? Yeah. But that imploded so bad that went outside and hired Shane. So I don't know if this is going to get so bad that even Shane gets caught up into this crap. I don't know. But if they keep Shane, does another head coach, like you've mentioned, and I'm not sure I'm on board with this, like you've mentioned McCarthy.
Yes.
Does McCarthy want to come here if Joe Shane's the GM? I don't know if he wants.
That's a good question. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I think an interesting one would be, and again, I'm not saying this would be a good idea, but given the relationship, Lane Kiffin might be an interesting.
You might have to look in that direction. I thought about that too. The Mara McDonald piece, they're basically the human centipede of management and and ownership. Like each one has their own head up each other's ass until you get to one person, and it's like it just flows down as one collective answer. I'm really just, again, first off, John Mara, I hope you get better. I don't know the depth of your.
I mean, interrupt. Are we blurry, guys? Because we're not blurry on our end.
It's clear to me, but I don't.
Okay,
I don't
know. Sorry to interrupt, John. I just wanted to see if people were telling us if we're blurry.
So, and I mean, I've only had the one beer, but it's just, it's so. It just takes your heart out of it. It just takes your heart out of the situation. John Mara, get better. We obviously, I don't like the way you're handling your team, but your health is extremely important. Concentrate on that. And by the way, just go ahead and step aside for a while and take your brother and your nephew with you.
Take a vacation, take a long
just do whatever. Because and you mentioned something about, is this the guy who wrecked the franchise? I all I get is the line from Beverly Hills Cop. Is this the guy who wrecked the buffet at the Harold Club? Yeah. That's that literally is what. I think the man's.
We still have to do a movie podcast.
Yeah, I know. He should get himself tested. I think he's got like herpes simplex 12. So I just think at this point something has to change. Now I would say, optimist. Yeah, you're barking up the wrong tree with this guy. I would say that I would truly be in the corner of Brian Flores. That would be my guy to be the coach, because someone put up a graphic of the images of the last four coaches of the Giants, and I swear to God, it looks like it's somebody's family reunion. You've got McAdoo, Shermer, Judge, and then Dayball. I mean, seriously, talk about a whiteout game. I think we kind of almost need to, I would get Brian Flores in. Let's change. Just do something.
But the issue there. He's suing the Giants.
I understand that, but they're talking about going in a different direction.
This organization is attacking podcasters right now. You think they're going? You think they're going?
No, I get it. So I'm all for McCarthy because I think he brings stability. I think your idea of Lane Kiffin, though, it's not something to really dismiss because of his connection to Dart. I think the Giants are committed to Dart. Now, if Dart fails horribly the rest of the year and the Giants pick really high, I'm just not sold on these 26 quarterbacks. I don't think any of them necessarily makes me think they're any better than Dart. I might as well stick with the guy I got and move around and pick up picks. But do I want Joe Shane doing that shit?
Right.
I'm disappointed. I thought he was better at his job than Brian Daboll was, and now I'm beginning to think neither one of them is qualified to do the jobs that they have.
I'm just impressed that Ryan looks so professional. Jeez, you look a lot. You look a lot more professional than I thought, Ryan. You look good.
Ryan's like, I'm going to use my LinkedIn profile for this.
Yeah, I don't know, John. We should do a show soon. We're going to have to, because when the Giants are like 1-10, no one's going to be watching us, and we're going to have to do stuff on like who should be the next head coach and what should happen to Joe Shane and all that kind of crap. So we should do a show soon on coaching options, because look, if they upset the Eagles, I'm not going there. But if they upset the Eagles, we can put this off. But let's assume that they're going to lose the Eagles. This is going to be bad. This is going to, like you said, if they're going to make a change, like, that would be one of the obvious places to do it. I don't think they're going to do that. But
because if you wait till the bye, it's so late in the season. There's really, what's the point?
Well, how do you beat the Eagles though when Bo Collins and Wandale and Jalen are your wide receivers? So, I mean, how do you beat them? I mean, you know what I mean? Even Slayton, as much as we look, Slayton had a horrific game. It was one of his worst games ever. And you and I have been.
He's still the best receiver on the team.
He's still the best receiver on the team. So now we're stuck with guys that are like, Jesus Christ. I mean,
remind me
with Joe Shane.
Oh,
this is a horrible wide receiver room right now.
Remind me real quick, is Amir Smith-Marset, is he
He's
still
on the practice squad?
So we could bring him up. He legitimately can play wide receiver. Why didn't they not put Gunner into the game at wide receiver later in the game? He's an NFL receiver.
I would play Gunner over Jalen Hyatt.
Oh, absolutely. At least I know he'll catch the ball if you throw it to him.
Yeah, I would look. It's time. At least it'll be almost like, at least you can root for the guy that you know isn't really great, but he's SPP. You got to stop,
dude. You rock. I appreciate it, because a lot of effort and time does go into this, and dude, you make it worthwhile. I really appreciate that.
I would rather root for somebody who I know is just kind of an overachiever and is giving his all than a Jalen Hyatt's of the world. I would just,
right.
And by the way, what did you think of Dart giving dagger stare to Jalen Hyatt after he scrambled? Did you see that play?
Yeah.
He got up and he looked at him and he was like this. I'm guessing
clearly he didn't run the right route. He didn't,
or he was mad that he didn't block on his run.
Well, that's true too. But I thought it was
not very physical. If you watch that play, Jalen's not doing anything but watching. So,
and that won't. And for somebody like Dart,
yeah,
that's who's throwing stiff arms to guys down the field. That's not going to cut it. And I want that. But you know what? I don't give a shit how short I am, because I want to see you do something from a coaching staff. And I know it's stupid, but we've included movie stuff already, and I'll keep it tight. I want you to do something like from the movie Hoosiers, where they decided to go, you know what? We're going to play with 4 guys on the court. I don't care. You didn't do what I told you to do. We'll play with 4. Just go ahead. Pull Jalen Hyatt off the field. Put somebody else in. Put another tight end and just play without it. I don't care. He brings nothing to the table. He does not. By the way, I thought he was a lot faster than he is. He does not get open deep. He does not try to run any. Everybody talks about his route tree is very limited. How at this point in your career is it still limited that you can only run straight down the field? You don't block. You seem disinterested, by the way, on a deep pass. You didn't give a whole lot of effort to even try to catch the ball. You know what happens when you can't get a ball like that? You might get pass interference if you try really hard to get to it. Make it look like you're trying. Flop, fall down, do something. Nothing. You get absolutely, literally, it is subtraction by addition. We put them on the field and we lose points.
I have to laugh at this. What a time to be alive. You know, the only reason why I'm even contemplating this, Damian, is when we were doing these live during the preseason, the Giants were 3-0, and I'm a superstitious person. So we had Neil giving us the plays before they happened, and things were rolling. So that's the only thing that makes me want to do that.
I mean, we could think about it. This game is
I
going to
don't
be
know.
rough.
Yeah,
This game is going to be really rough.
We'd be on like, I got to go get another beer. I got to go.
It's going to be bleep central. I know that.
All right. Where do we want to take this before we?
Well, let's do this.
Or do you want to respond to some comments? Because we have so many great comments.
We got to keep.
We're reading all your comments, guys.
Yes.
There's a lot of great comments here. It's just a lot to take in.
And the other
going like this.
Well, and the other thing too is, and I know for some of you, you always tell us don't worry about it, but for tonight we did it earlier. We're keeping it really tight. We want to be done at 6. I've got other stuff to do. Eric's got other stuff to do. We're trying to keep it tight. And by the way, I mean, there's just so much from this game that was so disappointing. What do you think right now with where first off, are the Giants going to fill those 2 roster spots that are open? I mean,
yeah, that's what I wanted to say real quick. Why didn't they bring this is what I don't know what Joe Shane's doing. All right. Look, I don't think there's no way you can replace Malik Nabers. I said that last time we were on the show. I firmly believe that you're not going to fit. By the way, Odell Beckham just accepted the 6-game suspension for PEDs, so he's out of the equation. Anyone who's been lobbying for Odell, his career is probably officially over at this point. But we brought in a wide receiver and we worked him out last week that just got signed by Green Bay. If he's good enough for Green Bay, he's probably good enough for us. We have 2 open roster spots. I think we still have a spot open on the practice squad. I don't understand why we didn't sign the guy. If he's good enough for Green Bay, he should be good enough for us because we have no wide receivers right now. Dan Duggan or somebody brought it up this week because people were saying, "Oh my God, Slayton's not going to play. Who do we have to replace?"
we can bring
I
up.
had to look because my wife is videotaping me. What are you doing? Oh, I think what she's doing is she said I'd be off in an hour, and she's saying he's not off in an hour.
Hey, we got 3 minutes. You still got 3 minutes.
He said. So Slayton's not playing, and he was responding to somebody. Can't we sign somebody for the game on Thursday? He said there's not enough time because anyone you bring off won't even know the playbook, won't even know any of the things. He said the time to do it was last week if you were going to bring in somebody, and he was kind of saying, I don't know why they didn't sign somebody last week, just in case to get them up to speed for this week's game. And we have 3 roster spots, 2 on the.
It's got to be cap money. By the way, every time I see Restrepo, all I can think of is Janine Restrepo from Parks and Rec. So if you know what I'm talking about, he's like, "Oh, Janine Restrepo, really? The famous Janine?" Anyway, so yeah, it's got to be.
There's a movie called Restrepo on Afghanistan, and that's what I was thinking about.
I was going with Parks and Rec.
Okay.
It's got to be the cap. It absolutely has to be. We're dead last in cap space. If you put people on, I think they got to move another contract, and they don't want to. Is what it seems like. By the way, if that's the case, if you don't want to move money around just so you can fill the roster, what are you actually saying about what you expect from the rest of this year anyway? You're almost like, nah, fuck it. We're gonna lose. What difference does it make? We're not gonna do that. I don't like it. I think it was really ridiculous. I was okay with not bringing up Little Jordan Humphrey for the game based on what I thought they did. And they did it, by the way. Thank you for Section 125 who called out the fact that I called the game plan the way it happened in the beginning of the game. The problem is they didn't continue it later on when they could have. They got away from it. As soon as they started to fall behind, it makes it difficult. But I thought they did. They went away from Bellinger the whole second half. The one thing I don't like about Theo Johnson, by the way, is it doesn't take much. If you just kind of clip his legs, down he goes. The Giants are really horrible about you hit their legs at all, they go down. They just go down.
He had that one good play where he was running through people a couple games ago.
Oh, sure, that was straight on. But if they just they go down. Yeah. They do not.
Look, we and other people were giving Daniel Bellinger a grief in the preseason, and why is he
Correct.
on the team? We should give him credit for being one of the guys who's actually playing hard and playing well, and they're going to need him moving forward with the situation that they've got at wide receiver right now. So, we'll see. Look, my thing with this season right now is Jaxson Dart, Cam Skattebo, Abdul Carter. They're the reasons I'm watching right now. Brian Burns, I'll give credit to the guys who are, the Kayvon Thibodeaus who are still. I hope they keep playing hard. There are reasons why I tune in right now. The number one reason is Jaxson Dart right now, because I'm excited about him, and it's going to be bad, guys. And everyone, you guys got to. There are people on the forum who are like, Jaxson can do no wrong, and any mistake that happened really wasn't on Jaxson Dart.
His fault, yeah.
But it was somebody else. That's bullshit. But the other side of it is, too, if you expect any
can't do anything right,
or any veteran, for God's sake, not to make mistakes, you're not living in the real world. So this is going to happen. That's why I'm not surprised at all. Like I said, when they went up 14-3, I'm like, oh my God, he looks great. Because he was very decisive too. He was zinging the ball and in there into the tight ends. I mean, some of the throws he made were top notch.
Absolutely.
And that's what I said. If they hit the flea flicker and if Slayton catches that other deep pass, it's a different ball game.
How about the swing pass to Devin Singletary that would have easily given them plus yardage? Yeah. He just drops it.
Yeah, and if Skattebo doesn't fumble, look, the biggest mistake in the game was Cam Skattebo, because it was a 2-point game. They're in the red zone. It's either a 1-point giant lead at that point, or they score the touchdown and they have to decide whether they're going for 2 points or not. But that was the biggest screw up in the game, and it's just a damn shame.
I'm going to disagree with this real quick, because you can only script so much. There's a difference between we script the first 15 plays, as the 49ers used to do. Once the Giants got past midfield, once they get into the red zone, you're not running a script of we're just going to run these plays. You're running very specific red zone plays. I think once they go through a series of plays, once they get through a red zone thing, and they went through 2, by the way, we scored twice. You've now given the defense and the big problem I have with the plays that they do is they tend to go back to the same ones in the same formation. If you look at the Chiefs, they run a lot of the same plays, but out of multiple formations. They do with different guys on the field. They line them up differently. They move them around. They're running all around, and then they run a standard run play up the middle. But you don't know that because of everything else happening. The Giants become very predictable, and I've said this numerous times, on packages of who they put on the field and what they do. I also, please stop calling direct runs. I mean, full on snap to the quarterback and he goes head first through the middle of the line. I would rather Jaxson not do that. He's not Josh Allen 6'4", 240. The dude is going to get creamed. Let him run around, sure. But a straight run into the middle of the line,
right?
I don't know if I like that.
That's your Mike Kafka, though, who you want to be the head coach.
It's not that I want him to be the head coach. I don't want Daboll. I don't want that relationship if I think Dart, and I like Dart. I think Dart's the guy. Now, the other piece is, though, if you bring in a different coach and he wants somebody else, oh, well.
There's just so much to digest. And finish on with my last comment.
Yes, please. We'll wrap it up.
There is just, it goes back to that comment Giant Grit made a few weeks ago. The Giants make everything so unnecessarily complicated, and they've made everything complicated. It's like you said, they've got, what did Optimus say? They've got 1.3 million or 2 million in cap space.
Yeah. We're right.
But they've got this situation again where they've drafted a quarterback with a regime that might be on its way out. They'll keep a GM and fire the coach, and then later fire the GM, and then with the new coach. I mean, they never clean house. And I'm not saying they should clean house with Dart, so don't get me wrong. But now they've made this complicated. It's not his fault, but John Mayer's got cancer. We don't know how serious it is. It could be it could be like skin cancer, or it could be something very serious. We don't know what kind of cancer he's got, but that's looming over all this. There's now a minority owner that's more of an investment than it's going to be having any say in the way the teams run, but who knows about that. So it just, I don't know how this another movie show, The Truman Show. How does this movie end? I don't know how this movie ends. I don't know. I don't know where this is going. I don't because I've seen this movie before the last 14 years. I'm not optimistic it's going to end well. I don't know how this is going to end for them, and I'm not.
So
I'm tired of this, John.
No, I thought for sure,
Tired.
I at the very least, I thought we would be better than last year and improving at the end of the year. I thought we would start improving where we would start picking up more wins towards later in the year. I did not think that that Jaxson Dart would play so early because I thought they would purposely try to hide him. But I got a weird feeling early on that the way it was going, Dayball wanted. I think we can legitimately now say, and we'll wrap this real tight.
Yeah.
Legitimately say that Dart probably was Dayball's guy to start the season, and the only reason that he wasn't allowed to was because Andrew Thomas was not out there at left tackle. The second Andrew Thomas became available, Jaxson Dart became the quarterback of this team.
But
if Russell Wilson had done anything against the Chiefs,
maybe it wasn't. But maybe it wasn't Andrew Thomas. Maybe it was because there were people inside the organization that were saying not yet. Because again, this is all speculation. But a lot of the speculation that we've had, again, like the John Mara thing that came out today,
is pretty accurate.
Ended up being true. But you and I have thought Evan Neal and Jalen Hyatt and Tay Banks may still be like the first two are still on the roster because of Joel Shane, and maybe Tay Banks is still kind of getting snaps because they're saying, well, you got to give him some snaps to justify the first round draft pick status. So again, this is the messiness that I'm talking about. What if Brian Daboll said, I want Jaxson Dart to be my opening day starter, and they said, no, you're not. Maybe he's not calling the shots on.
It is possible.
I don't know.
It is. There definitely seems to be a inconsistent and disconnected sort of thought process. The key one I'll say is when Daboll talked about having 4 tight ends. Well, you do this because we're going to go heavy 2 set tight ends, blah, blah, blah. And then he says, well, we're going with 2 running backs, but if 2 get hurt, then we have none, but you can't count on that. I'm like, but you just said that. That's why you have 4 tight ends active. Yeah. So you only have there's so many things that never match up to what they do. Real quick because I see about Miami, the bottom 5 teams in cap space right now are the Colts, the Chiefs, the Bills, then 2 loser teams at the very end, the Dolphins and the Giants. 3 of those teams are playoff contending teams right now. Teams at the top of their divisions, teams that are playing well, the Chiefs, the Colts, and the Bills. And the 2 teams that are absolutely imploding, one who sounds like they're going to fire their coach if he doesn't win very soon, and that's the Dolphins. So McDaniel is going to be on his way out. It's already been rumored in the next 2 to 3 games, if they don't see some change, that he's probably gone. So you got the 2 loser teams that have overpriced players and a bad record.
My daughter's boyfriend is a Miami Dolphins fan, and he was watching the Dolphins game here on Sunday, and he was talking shit to me about the Giants. I'm like, who the hell do you think you're at the thought? Because he was talking about Darren. We got Darren Waller.
Great. And wait until he decides he doesn't want to play anymore.
Anyways, it's just bad. On that note, hopefully we'll have another positive. Maybe the Giants will win, and maybe we'll.
So we want to preview the Eagles game. We need to do it before the game. So I'm thinking we'll do it Thursday. It's up to you. We'll
have to talk about that.
We'll talk about it. So we'll do it on Thursday.
Yeah.
When we'll do it, but we'll keep it tight before the game, but we'll preview it. So with that being said, please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. I really do appreciate it. SPP, you're awesome. Thank you for the donation. Much appreciated. And go and enjoy your evening and try not to think about the Giants. It's bad. It's bad. This is bad, man. Yeah, no, it's not good. This is bad. So with that being said, we will see you at some point on Thursday. We'll let you know when, and have a good night.